Okay, hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the possibilities and new things for Wargame 4. Now, we all know from a business standpoint, Eugene has done very well with the Wargame franchise. Let's not. So that means that most likely they'll be making another Wargame, right? And, like, obviously it's gonna thing. Active Aggression isn't doing too hot. But it's not. It paid for. I believe it paid for most of the development time for the first week of sales, so it didn't do too bad. But they know that Wargame is pretty much where their fan base is currently, and they're going to go back to the fan base most likely. I mean, I don't see that as a thing. But we can talk about like new things, right? What would everyone like to see from the new war game? So there's a whole bunch of different possibilities. A new time zone, of course, time frame. So let's say they want to increase the time period to like 2000 or early 2000, late 2000, something along those lines. So we're going to see like new units, of course, all that jazz, all the new wonderful prototypes, stuff like that, and then new factions, new countries, additions like Turkey, Israel, Finland, Greece, all those factions that you can play. Maybe even more. Maybe I don't know. I can't think of any. Singapore, Brazil, a whole bunch of other factions like that. So maybe we can see something like that as well. Game modes. Now here is my theory crafting idea. I have two game modes that I have worked up in my head, and I'm gonna try to explain them as best as possible so you guys can get the best images. Fortunately, I did pitch both of these ideas today, and to someone at Eugene, and they like them a lot, and I think that's great. And I think if if those game modes do get accepted, that would be a cool thing to add to my plaque that I suggested, or pretty much somewhat co-develop a game mode. So the first game mode is called Rush. Now, what is Rush? Rush is pretty much Rush is you take a normal map. We're going to take a big one. We're going to go, say, Gajol, right? If I can turn on Gajol. Yeah, Gajol. Well, never mind. I can't even... I don't even know. I can't even select 10v10 games? I don't know. Okay, so Gajol. We know somewhat Gajol, what it looks like. I can't really select it or anything like that. But what Rush is there's certain zones. Of course, there's starting zones like everyone has in the map. And I wish there was a way to show this on screen. I can't show Gajol, but I guess I can show other maps. Okay. Let's show... Okay, let's show Korea Rocks. I guess this works the best. Okay, so pretty much we take a large-scale map and we have our starting zones. We have, of course, the predetermined starting zones, stuff like that, and pretty much the game would start normal. Now, after a certain time period, which I would say about 10 minutes, all these zones, not including the spawn zones, would change. So what that means is Foxtrot, all these zones here, Golf, Bravo, Alpha would all change. So they would be semi-symmetrical. So that means India, Delta would all change. Now this map isn't really built for something along these lines, but we're going to change. We're going to put a zone here. 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 So pretty much what it means is you're changing zones, and you're changing the line of combat. Though this map isn't really great for saying that, we're just gonna use it as an example. So imagine a blank map with different stuff like that. So the zones switch every 10 minutes. So that means your lines and your forces in Foxtrot are gonna have to move to capture this zone here. His forces are gonna have to move to capture his zones here, and we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight right here, and we're gonna to control the zone. And over here we're gonna move. We're gonna have to either one is going to have to attack the other, or we're just going to be a stalemate or something along those lines. And then, of course, here we're going to have to, this is going to be a central zone, so you're going to have people attacking, through here, and it's just going to change. And every 10 minutes, it's just going to change to a new one. It may go back to the original set of zones or something along those lines, or it may go back to a new one. So let's say we're going to put the zones here, or we're going to put the zones, we're going to put them here or something along those lines. They're just going to change. This map isn't that great for, yeah, Pattyfield's a good example. So it's just going to change every so often, every 10 minutes, something like that. So what it does, I think it's obviously not for newer players and not for destructions. Obviously a conquest mode. And what it does is there's a lot of it. For me, it sounds really fun because you have to move lines, you have to move forces, you have to go secure the zone. Maybe some zones, maybe like this one, is worth 2 or 3 or something in conquest per second. So that means that, okay, we're going to have to really fight for here, or maybe it's randomized. Maybe this zone is worth 3 or something along those lines. So there's a whole bunch of different ideas we can explore with this new idea concept. There's a lot of different areas the way you could approach it. Maybe they're all equal one. Maybe one's more than the others. So it really sounds really fun to me. You're going to be moving a lot of forces. You're going to be fighting, and then 10 minutes later, after you secure the zone, you've gained a little bit of over your opponent. You're going to move to a new zone, stuff like that. That just sounds really cool to me. Now, the next game mode, which isn't really a game mode, it's more of a community mode. And this is an idea that I pitched as well. It is if you've ever played End War, you kind of know that the way their multiplayer system worked is that you pick a faction. So there's 3 factions to pick, and pretty much in this idea it would be 2 factions, I believe. So you'd have, for example, Poland and France. Those are the examples I used. So you have Poland and France, and there's a scenario. This is kind of like a campaign, but an online played campaign, right? You're versus Poland and France, and you have you can choose a side. So say you choose Poland, and maybe some other buddies choose France. Now you can't queue with people because that's how it becomes a little bit unbalanced. So you can only queue solo by yourself. And you've chosen to play Poland, and then you get assorted with a random match-made teammates, and you go against each other. Whoever wins the map wins the game. You're only using Polish units versus French units, right? So it's kind of a minor nation versus somewhat minor nation, and if Poland wins, then they advance. So that means you. Or maybe France attacks Poland or something along those lines. So it's every so month or every couple of weeks the scenario changes. So after some time, say all the Polish guys win. What do they get? So they'd get a skin in return, or they'd get a skin for some Polish units, or they get some sort of reward for playing Poland, playing on the winning faction or something along those lines. You couldn't change because changing between the two would be kind of detrimental to the game mode, and playing with your buddies is kind of not great. Because it gets unbalanced and stuff like that. So you play and you win, and so the next scenario, so a week later, the next scenario comes out. So it's now Poland invades France. So now France is on the defending side of the territory, and Poland's attacking, and now West Germany has decided to come in, and East Germany decides to come in. So you have 2 factions now that you can pick. Each one you'd like to play as. Both have predetermined, maybe not predetermined decks doesn't really work, but you have something on those lines. So where you're going to be able to, those 2 factions or those 2 countries are going to, bash out, and whoever wins, say East Germany wins again, that means France is eliminated, and you can maybe confiscate some French units. So maybe in forward, down the campaign, if you're still playing Poland, you can get some French units and some East German units or something like that, East Germany units, and you have a nice little mix match of units. And then you can, after France is conquered, then USA decides to make a play, right? And that means that USA decides to come and retake France or come through a different area. So that means UK and USA decide to attack France, and Russia decides to join in. So you're playing with Russia, Poland, and East Germany, and then maybe China wants to do something. So there's a lot of different ways they can add it, or it's just a basic idea of how the online campaign multiplayer would work. But in the end, after say 6 months, it's either NATO or blue or red 4 that wins, right? And whichever one wins, you pretty much have to pick which one you're going to go for. And whichever one wins, everyone who is in the winning faction gets something cool, a bonus or something along the lines, something to use, right? Because the profile system here is pretty weak. It's just like, okay, You see my stats. There's nothing behind it. There's no customization. There's nothing, I don't know, something cheesy. I'm pretty sure someone can think of something better than I can. Skins is the only thing that I can really think of being rewarding. Maybe you get some cool skins. You know, maybe you can have like gold-plated units. Stupid shit like that, right? So pretty much, the whole concept is it makes people want to play the game and do well, right? So if I win this battle, we get a certain amount of points toward our victory counter or whatever, something on those lines, to where, okay, you know, Poland beat France, you know, theoretically, and we took over France, and maybe we can use some French units. Maybe there can be some sort of system to where once you've conquered a nation, you can use their resources, i.e. units or something along those lines. So, it's an interesting idea, and I think it's one that could be, if thrown right, if, you know, proposed right, it could be something to look forward to. But yeah, those are only ideas. Those are nothing final or anything like that. They're just ones that I threw out there, you know, for another game mode. Another one, which I don't really want to talk about the other one, but anyways, that's about it. That's pretty much. I don't, you know, I don't want to say. I don't want to, like, you know, go into spoiler territory or anything, but I don't know anything. But that's it. You know, those are just a couple ideas I have. You know, besides the obvious, we can start theory crafting. You know, what would you like to see in the new war game, right? Of course, everyone wants to see new units, a better tutorial, and that is something that I will push as hard as I can for, is a better tutorial. Because I think Eugene realized they kind of fucked up with this game and how bad the tutorial is, and I think they've realized that. And hopefully they will correct their mistake, and if they don't, I'll be the first person to let them know. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little video and stuff like that. Please, you know, if you have something to add, if there's maybe you have a better idea, your own game mode or something, you know, leave it in a comment below. And maybe if it's good enough, I'll send a message to a developer. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little